Systems Smarting Coaching. How are you? I've just got another quick little video today that I wanted to share with you. I know the lighting is not exactly wonderful. I'm trying to work on that, but hey, it is what it is. If I wait for the lighting to be right, so many messages I'm getting aren't going to be shared. So on with the show. So what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about being yourself in the world and what that can mean and how that can be misperceived and how it can be hard, right? So if you've always been a certain way in your life and you've always shown up in a certain way in your life, people get used to you being that kind of thing, and that will be the personality or the person that they know. They know you as that person. Now, not always is that who you are, because sometimes you're only serving up parts of you to people, the parts that you know they can digest, right? And you might be holding back other parts of you because they don't get it, or they're not interested in that, or you don't want to be laughed at, or like me, for years and years and years, I had a big, huge rejection wound, abandonment wound. So the easiest way not to get abandoned or rejected is to not put out stuff that might be on the line, you know? So you do that. But then there comes a point in your life where you realise that that's not living, that's just cutting yourself up into pieces. That's allowing other people to dictate to you who you want to be. And that may work for a long time in your life, but then at some point it may not work anymore. You've got to make peace with that when you get that realisation, and not be down on yourself for anything. You did what you did, you existed how you existed, whatever it is. But then when you've had that realisation, you've got a choice to make. Do you go forward doing that still in the world, or do you expand out and gradually move and put things out there that may not be received well, that may cause you to get abandoned, that may cause people to like be what the actual is wrong with you? I speak from experience. So that's a point that you get to, right? And then you get yourself there and you start being a little bit more yourself. Meanwhile, you are learning who you are because you haven't been who you are yet, right? You've held all those things back. So you're trying a lot of things on for size, right? You're trying out different things. You're exploring different things that you've been interested in but have kept quiet, or whatever it happens to be. I'm sure that you'll understand if you've been in this situation or whatever. So you start to put things out there. And what can happen is your default, anytime that you've done anything new, put it out there and been rejected, your default setting is to pull back from that resistance that you're feeling, right? So even though you've made peace with the fact that you don't want to do that anymore, your instant reaction to people questioning you, rejecting you, the fear of that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can see in their eyes they don't really like what I'm saying, or them telling you in actual words they don't like that. Your default setting will kick in, and it might kick in a number of times, and it might frustrate the absolute heck out of you, but it will kick in and you'll go back and you'll pull back from that resistance because that resistance is uncomfortable. And what you've always done when you've felt that resistance is pulled back. And then you'll pull back, and then all of a sudden you'll realise, God, I don't want to do that. Why am I doing that? Again, be easy on yourself, because this has been your in-ground pattern, your default setting, right? And they're in-ground so far, right, that you may not. It takes a long time to break them sometimes, right? The knowing of it and the awareness of it is one thing. The learning to walk through and to step into that resistance and stand right at that line of resistance and not pull back, that takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage, and that may take a lot of times for you to get to that line before you stop pulling yourself back. So then what will happen is you decide, I'm going to stand there regardless, and you stand there and it will feel uncomfortable, and it will feel wrong, and you'll feel all sorts of things, and your mind and your ego and your person that keeps you safe will be screaming at you to pull back, abort mission, like man down, let's retreat. I want to encourage you when you're at that point not to retreat. And I want to encourage you to talk back to all of those things that are talking to you, telling you to retreat, and thank them very much for their service and their time, and they have kept you safe right up until now. But right now you're ready to explore outside. You're ready to expand your knowledge of what happens next. You're ready to expand into who you could become, regardless of the reactions of people around you. And again, that's another realisation, that's another thing. You decide that's what I'm going to do. Again though, standing in that resistance can feel lonely, and it can feel scary, and it can feel like you are being thrown and pelted with stuff, right? And it can cause you to stand. I can't stand here anymore and retreat again. But be thankful to yourself that you are able to stand there a bit longer. okay? This is growth. This is growth. This is where it all happens. Your ability to stand in that resistance will gradually get longer and longer and longer and longer. And I can tell you right now, eventually, anyone watch Amanda, please? Eventually, you will be able to withstand, not only withstand that, but you'll be able to walk forward another step whilst being pelted with stuff, whilst feeling uncomfortable, whilst the rejection and the reactions are happening. And that's a big step, right? That's a big step. That does come, but you have to grow your ability to stand in the resistance. That happens by doing the work. Suze, you always go on about doing the work. Doing the work, getting to know yourself, sitting with the parts of you that you've ignored, that you've been ashamed of, that you've been embarrassed about, sitting with the decisions that you've made that have been life-changing, not just for you, but for everybody else. Things that are done, that you cannot change, that you can't even begin to change. Sitting with those things, acknowledging, yes, that was me then, that was me with less knowledge, that was me doing something stupid, that was me acting out. I did lots of things at different periods in my life that were so 180 to who I was, because that garnered attention. That got attention. That got people, holy shit, right? I'm so glad that I only had periods of that and I didn't do that for my whole life, because that could have been a disaster. And I did that for a lot of reasons, which I'm still trying to unpack. That, again, is the work, right? But I can't be ashamed of all of that stuff, because that's who I was at different periods in my life. As you grow and as you expand out and as you have more life experience and as you step more into places, jobs, relationships, social situations, you explore parts of you that you have ignored or pretended weren't there. The more that you do that, this is the work, right? This is the work I'm talking about. The more that you can make peace with all of those parts of you, with all of those things, allow them all to have equal space, to take up the space they need to take, but also to realize that they do not rule you. That doesn't say who you are, regardless of what anyone else wants to say. People will quite often want you to rot in your mistakes. Meanwhile, they're wanting everybody else to forget about their mistakes and let them move forward. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's for someone out there. So this little video was to encourage you. Learn to stand in the resistance. The only way you learn to stand in the resistance and get comfortable in the resistance is to stand there. Stand there a bit longer next time. Stand there a bit longer next time. Stand there a bit longer next time. All of a sudden, without even thinking, you're taking another step. You didn't step back. Not only did you not step back, not crumble, not fall apart, not appease the things that were being said, not take that all on board as you can't be different. Not only have you stood in that, but you're now taking a step forward and letting another part of you out, another exploration of who you are, of who you could be, of who you are becoming. Or as I'm learning now, who you've always been, but you're remembering. Because you're allowing yourself the space to remember, because you did the work to make peace with stuff. To finally breathe out instead of holding yourself like this, right? That's where the magic happens. You can get there. I'm not going to lie. It's hard, it's tough, it's hard work, and you've got to find what works for you. But I'm just making this video to say, stay there. Congratulate yourself when you can stand there, even if it's 10 seconds, even if it's just saying 3 words, right? Congratulate yourself. It's all about the small steps, because all of a sudden those small steps are going to add up to a big step, and you're going to feel amazing. And you're going to be able to feel more you than you've ever felt before, and that will encourage you to take the next steps that you need to take. Hope this is helpful. If it's helpful for you, maybe helpful for somebody that you know, please feel free to share the video. I'd love it if you would subscribe if you like this sort of videos. And I would love it if you would just comment anything that you've found helpful, that you've done, anything that it's brought up for you. Because I think if we make a community where we can share with people, to say your past doesn't dictate your future unless you sit down and say it does. We've all done things, said things, been things. We've all shut ourselves down. We've all shut our light off. We've all stood in the boxes that people wanted us to stand in. But the world's changing now, and there is more space for us to be who we want to be. And the more that you can be who you are growing into, the more you'll find people like you, the more encouraged you'll get. and it just becomes this great, huge upward spiral of magnificence. Okay, take care. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Love you.